Phil. How are you?
I'm very good.
I feel like you and I just came to the meeting in person today. Shame on us.
You have a new look?
I do?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
You're extra fancy today.
Yeah.
You're ready whenever you are. Okay, I think we can, are we recording? Okay, yeah. We're recording.
All right. Hi, Carol. Hi, Lonnie. Good to see you.
Hi, everybody, likewise.
Yeah, this is great.
Check Susan.
Cool. All right, so I guess we are ready to call the meeting to order. And first order of business is approving our minutes from our meeting on March 3rd. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Moved.
Oh. I'll move.
Going?
Yeah, Susan's coming in now. All right.
Oh, good, okay.
So Lua has motioned to approve the minutes. Does anybody second?
Second.
Thank you. And do I have a collective aye from the group? Aye.
Collective.
Hi.
Collective. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you.
We're
All
team.
right. Meeting minutes are approved. Okay. First order of new business. Unfortunately, Dawn has resigned. So, we have one space to recruit for. Don't know if you wanted to say anything about
Yes.
the recruitment.
So, I would like us to be really proactive in recruiting the replacement for Dawn, because otherwise it just goes out on our social media and whoever applies, we don't have much say after that. So I would love to see an actual artist. I feel like that's one thing that would behoove us, and maybe someone who's done public art before. So if you know of anyone, let me know. I'll send them an application. Love to onboard them as soon as possible.
So is there a time, there's no timeline, it's just an open recruitment until filled?
Well, kind of,
Okay,
And do they have to live in Lakewood?
not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily. I did speak with Kellis, from Hua that runs Huasil. And she showed some interest. So
all right. Any questions about that, about recruitment for that open position? Hi, Susan.
Hello, hello.
Hi.
I was listening. Thank you.
All right, so we will move on to the second order of new business. Stacy from the city is here to discuss.
Hi, Stacy. Stacy's right here.
You all. I am the one of two parks development managers, managing all the construction projects on the park improvements that are underway. So currently, right now, American Lake Park has been under construction since fall of last year. And Wards Lake Park, there's a two-phased improvement project that's happening concurrently, and that's been under construction since January. So, and then as well in Fort Silicon Park, we've got a partnership with the Nisqually Indian tribe to develop an interpretive trail, the Nisqually Trail, that has several interpretive kiosks. And each of those are in kind of various levels of design development or construction. And I'm hopefully going to paint a picture of kind of what's going on to give you some context of the site and the new improvements that are underway, because the parks are going to be quite different. Even if you're familiar, there's just a lot of changes, exciting changes that are happening, to help kind of maybe give context to some potential art opportunities within those projects.
Was American Lake one too?
Yes. So within those opportunities, there's potential for a mural at American Lake Park, some graphic wraps at both Wards Lake Park and American Lake Park. And then the tile mosaic is really just kind of an informational update. We're gonna host a community workshop that's being supported by the project. We've contracted with a tile artist to support that. And I just want you guys to be able to, one, attend that and be aware of that kind of timeline. And then two, if you all know any other creative people that, want to participate, kind of just have that on your radar. And that's going to be up and coming this year as well. So American Lake Park is about $4.2 million worth of improvements. It's a lot going on, new restrooms. I'll kind of summarize everything that's going on with some of these. Wards Lake,
Harry Todd Park?
no, it's on the opposite. So Harry Todd is on the south, kind of by I-5 on the south
Mhm.
shore of the lake. American Lake is on the opposite
It's
shore,
right by
almost.
like City Pub.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Usually
okay.
call
So
it
it's where the,
Park North.
On the way to the VA.
we call it American Lake Park?
like the police department calls it American Lake.
No, it's so there's a boat launch facility there that's probably the most, I mean, set behind Fort Slocum Park. This is the most active park in our park system for use. The boat launch is currently open and the development is not included of the boat launch side. It's really kind of the public park, the other half of the park. Wards Lake Park is in the northeast corner of our community,
Yeah.
kind of right behind the Regal Cinema on 84th. It's really hidden. There's really no kind of natural vantage point into the park from a main arterial. So that one's kind of really critical that we just, all these improvements that are going on, it's $5.7 million worth of improvements that we can kind of support some of those improvements
Wards
with.
Lake
Mhm.
alone?
Yes.
Well, that's a lot of improvement.
Yeah, it's actually it's phase 1 and phase 2, so it's like almost two
So
separate
that's
$3
good,
million.
because that
Yeah, that park
was kinda
needs,
like
needs a lot of love, and yeah,
Yeah,
there
it
hadn't
does.
been any improvements for
and a
quite
lot
some
of
time.
negative stuff happened.
Correct, yes, so that's my baby, my favorite
Good.
of like,
Turn
it's
it
gonna be
around.
different and it's gonna be great and amazing, so.
Yeah.
And then the Nisqually Partnership Project. The Nisqually Trail, I'll show a map, but it's really kind of where the new restroom facility went in a couple years back on Angle Lane. It runs up Angle Lane and then kind of through the prairie, meets up with the lake, and then kind of returns down the main kind of lake access road.
Isn't the log being tied into that somehow?
We've tried to tie it in, but we're really also trying to forge a relationship with the tribe. And so we really are just navigating that sensitively, that we don't want to force something that's, is not included in them telling their story. So where we're currently at right now is we've got some plant IDs along the natural part of the trail and incorporating some information from a tribal perspective about Douglas fir trees is kind of where we're at. And then that site, there's just kind of an adjacent kiosk that will also have some interpretive information very close to there. So it's been a work in progress, and we've kind of just, followed the flow of how it's going to go, which sometimes I struggle with because I'm like, we're making progress. But, sometimes the progress is just hearing everyone and making sure that everyone, all the stories have been told that need to be told. And we've there's just different folks along the path of the last couple of years that we've developed that we've spoken with. So
A lot of people listening, right?
100%. I've learned a lot, and I'm really excited about some of the information in that project as well, that I think will be really valuable to the community and inform them of Indigenous people and the Nisqually tribe specifically. So the specific opportunities at each of these sites, I'm calling them a trash bay wrap. There are basically a stand of 5 garbage cans that we've tried to beautify. There's just a very large need for waste disposal at the site, and so they're kind of scattered of these like little bays of trash can bays throughout the park. And around that is really just a freestanding 3-sided aluminum structure, and the back facing, maybe the public access point, so you're not just looking at trash cans. It's really kind of a beautification opportunity of those bays. And then the mural in the parking lot, there was kind of a wooden structure surrounding the dumpsters, and that's been upgraded to a CMU structure with a fencing, and it's going to be painted just a very plain color to match the restroom, but it's really also one of your first impressions at the park.
You have a
I'll
kind of
have-
a sample.
I'll have a picture, yeah. Wards Lake, there's Public Works just put a new signal. I don't know if any of you are familiar with 84th, but it's right at Pine. There's now a signal there, and so there's a signal box associated with that. there's also out on 84th, this really funky kind of raised rockery with a cluster of utility
I was
boxes.
gonna ask about that.
That's a
It's like
bit of an eyesore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is owned by Lumen, which is a telecommunications provider. They've replaced some of the ones that were damaged from getting hit by a vehicle. And then we're working on an agreement with them since those aren't city-owned boxes like a signal box would be. But the hope is that they want to be community, supporters, and we just need some legal person to be like, yes, go forth and make it pretty. So I'll have a picture of that. And then the Portland Loo restroom, I'll show you what that is, but this is kind of a pilot project for the city. It's not just a standard block, typical restroom facility that you would see at a park. It's a really unique, almost like a metal Santa can. It's a single stall, and it's really a pilot project in hopes that on areas that have, some negative activity associated with, it's more of a maintainable unit. But it's just like a blue Santa can essentially. So also some good opportunity to kind of really start off with this new feature and then incorporate some art on that. And then the Swally Trail Partnership, we have quite a lot of different art ideas, but I'm just gonna update you all on the a mosaic tile workshop. And then if you all have questions on some of the other art as well, we will be doing an update with our Parks Commission at some point for that project, and I could share the presentation with you all as well, so if you're curious. So Worth Lake, we purchased 10.5 acres a couple years ago, so the park is now just under almost 40 acres. It's a very natural setting. There's the lake, which has some oak trees surrounding and some oak prairie habitat, and then the backside of the park kind of goes up into a conifer forest. You can kind of see on the far left picture, there's a big stand of oak trees adjacent to a playground. The middle picture is there's going to be a 175-foot bridge spanning the lake on a walking trail, and this is looking at across the lake at a willow tree where the bridge is going to span. And then the right side is kind of, there's a couple different features that are happening, a new dog park and a mountain bike track. And so they've built all these cool like jumps and trails and really cleaned up all the invasive species in there, and it's incredible.
Wow.
So here's a map that kind of shows, so the top right, that little kind of circle is the existing parking lot of 84th. That parking lot is going to be expanded, and there's a whole brand new huge playground going in there that's got kind of a nature theme, like wooden structures, so really natural materials that kind of adjacent to the oak trees. That light blue line is going to be a 10-foot paved walking trail, and it's got the bridge spanning. And then there's a whole series of other trail systems. On the top left of the park is going to be about a 2-acre off-leash dog park. It's like really a forested area that's been completely cleared, so it's like nice and open and a totally different use because there was really no programmed activity. It was just some trails through the woods and a lot of ivy and invasive
A lot of
species.
land.
It's a lot of land, yeah. The bike track is all those that cluster of brown lines. That's about a 3.5 acre like mountain bikes, BMX bikes. There is a pump track also, which is a concrete pump track just adjacent to the parking lot of 84th. So there's a smaller pump track in Springbrook. This is just a much larger version of that. And then
What is that?
a pump track, it's like a concrete track that undulates so that you have momentum to just kind of do a loop either on a skateboard or a bicycle.
Oh,
It's
okay.
wheelchair accessible. It's made to be kind of an accessible, almost like a skate park, but not completely paved. It's just like a track circuit. So, well, the
Is there a walking trail?
there's quite a few walking trails. The light blue trail is paved, 10 feet wide. The yellow trail is like a compacted gravel around like an oak prairie natural area. The colored trails are all gravel improved, kind of across the park, through the forest. And then that purple trail, probably 2/3 of it there's going to be a new neighborhood park on the opposite side that has a second playground with parking. And that also has a paved trail that will walk to the south part of the lake with a viewpoint. And then there's,
Changes.
yeah, it's
Nice.
a lot going on there. So, and we hope that, you know, all those new activities, the bike folks that designed it, and then there's a second group that are constructing it, have just like a following of like several 100,000 people that in the Northwest that are avid bikers. So I think there's a
So
lot
they
of
know what
folks
they're
that are really excited for new opportunity in Pierce County, to come use this facility.
Do you know how many parking spaces there will be in that main parking lot?
I could probably count. I brought you guys because this is such like 10,000 square foot level. So this is kind of a zoomed in version that has a little bit more detail. So you can see that kind of circle. It's just kind of pushed out, and I want to say there's like another 11 stalls on top of the existing maybe dozen stalls. So I don't know, around 24 stalls. And then on the south side, there's looks like, you know, 10-ish stalls and a couple accessible stalls. So more parking.
And then that side, you could park up the street probably too. Down
You
there.
can, it's really
It's
kind of a
residential.
dead end residential neighborhood, but the city also owns a parcel that's not shown here, but there's right of way.
You
parking
have to
'cause
go
you're
through
not-
residential.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you could theoretically park over there. Yeah, on that,
Mhm.
on the newer part. too.
yeah, and then on the back side, it's 88th where the dog park will be, because the road kind of jogs. That there's a couple accessible stalls just to support the dog park use, but then there'll also be just shoulder parking for folks in the right of way. So hopefully, it's a nice walk, though. I walk back and forth every Tuesday, I go do a site tour, and there is an incredible amount of wildlife. I mean, even regardless of the construction, there's like bald eagles swooping down, like caught a fish right as we're talking. Last week, I was like, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
I didn't spend any time there, so. Yeah.
So this is a view of like just to the right of that curving area is a really large play area, but this is just summarizing those art opportunities of a wrap on the Portland Loo, the Pine Street signal box that's owned by the city, and then the potential future utility box off of 84.
So, okay, so there's a signal box.
I'll go through each one of these too.
Oh,
The restroom right there,
Yes.
it looks like a bus station.
It is a little bit. It's very small. I think it's like 40 square feet. It's really tiny.
Really?
So this is just an example from the internet that some other jurisdiction wrapped. You can see with like a map and some graphics. It's probably easier to see on this bigger map right here, but it's so tiny. It's really easy to miss, but it's just off of the main kind of the point round of the parking lot. I can point it
There's a
out.
man and a woman.
It's just one unisex,
Oh,
a
yeah.
single stall. Mhm.
Cute.
So the wrapped area is the one we see. Is that
Yeah.
pretty standard?
I think so. It's just this kind of a central belt because they've got that kind of open ventilation on the top as well as the bottom. So you can kind of see people's feet in there. That's supposed to help, you know, with the crime prevention, that you can't just camp out in there, and it's
Oh,
kind
you
of,
can see you use the toilet?
you can just see below your knees.
Oh.
Yeah, and then
And then does it extend to the other side, that belt?
I believe it's all the way around, but I have some like construction drawings that have more logistics, but
Okay.
I think it's gonna be delivered to the site next week. So
Okay.
like it'll be physically on
very
site to go.
Are you wanting to put a map on it, upwards like?
We have a map that's going in the plaza of the park. That's actually that map graphic here at the main entry, as well as a map at the new neighborhood South Park. So we don't need a map. It could be
Okay.
something other than that.
So as you look at this, you can just think of kind of the artists we've worked with, and I did do a PowerPoint, but I think you're looking for like nature.
Yeah, I'm really hoping, because this park is so nature oriented with the oak trees and the forest and all the birds, and the lake really promotes a lot of bird life as well. That if it was nature themed, that would really just kind of reinforce the setting. There's a great horned owl too that the contractor even has gotten a picture of, and I've heard it hooting as we're like doing site walks, which I think is just really cool. You know, there's herons just hanging out in the lake all the time when we're there. This picture on the lower left is kind of what the whole forest land looks like now. So it's very safe and inviting and open. There's just some walking trails that are just south of the dog park to kind of connect across the park. But there's some hope too that maybe some conservation, planting some native plants and things will occur there as well in the future. This is probably a terrible picture. I've circled it in red on the upper
Okay, wait,
left.
I'm so sorry.
Go
So
ahead.
that last one, that was the Pine Street one?
So the Pine Street signal box is right where that red star is.
Okay, and it's one single box.
It's just one signal box for the city's new signal that they installed. I don't have a picture of that, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Well, it'd be nice to do that next time.
Yeah, it's installed in there and there's a sidewalk that's basically the main pedestrian access for that main entry right there.
What is that bird?
A red-winged
all kinds of-
blackbird. Those are pretty common there too, because of the lake and they have a
So
really,
you have these birds
Is that one?
different places or?
I just thought bird, because of the owl, the heron, the eagles, these like water type, these birds are like, yeah, if birds was a theme, I think it's pretty relevant. And the Tahoma Bird Alliance years before, I think when they did the 2004 improvements of the park, did a walk and identified like 64 different species of birds at this one park, which is,
That's a
you
pretty
know.
bird, I think.
yeah, they have such a pretty call too.
What's his name?
A red-winged blackbird.
Oh, Redwood.
This is a terrible picture, but it's out in the right of way before you get into the physical park, right on the corner of Pine and 84th. And it's basically like your first impression of the park. We will be replacing that whole crumbling rockery with a nice brand new block wall, so that will improve the aesthetics. But the hope is if there's some kind of bird, maybe there's a theme that picks up on the nature theme for the Portland Loon and Signal Box, and it's just continued. Or maybe we had called it the utility garden, because there's a cluster of probably 4 or 5 different, they're not signal boxes, but different scale.
Small.
There's one really big cabinet and then the rest of them are smaller.
And they're all owned by Lumen.
We have a draft, they're all owned by Lumen. We have a draft legal document that's been sent to them that's basically like, we would just like to route these, you would still have access. But they obviously have to agree to that before we could alter those fixtures. Is there any other questions about Wards Lake while we're still?
Is there any proposal to try to merge those into one box or something, or just?
They have already
you're just trying to get
actually
permission?
done that there was like 2 that had been hit by a car and they consolidated what they could, because I did ask that question, because it's just I saw that, and also it's a risk, I imagine, to them. Anything in the right of way is a risk to being hit by a car in the future, and so it's maintenance for them to consider. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, they can't be removed, because I've asked that question as well. That it's just because there's no Wards Lake Park, there's no right of way left now to put the sign out, on that. There's a sign at the signal. It's a brown sign that says Wards Lake Park to the right, but it's tiny. So you just kind of have to know that it's there. My big grand idea, which I might even revisit it, would be to incorporate public art on the roadway, in the crosswalk, or in the Pine Street kind of drive aisle to the entry to the park. Previously, when I had spoken with the Paul Busich when he was the public works director, he was really concerned that it would be a safety hazard because it doesn't meet the traffic standard manual of like white striping and no crazy color. There are actually peer-reviewed educational articles that prove exactly the opposite, that when folks see public art in the roadway, they slow down and I think are more cautious and aware of which that didn't sway his decision-making either. But we have a new director now that I don't know his opinion on the matter. And
I don't know that I've seen any, I'd be interested.
In Seattle, they have the rainbow crosswalks. That's
Okay.
fun. It doesn't have to be a rainbow, but
Yeah.
it's, I think it
Have a
brings
lot
a lot
of
of cheer to your pedestrian experience.
How high will that new rock wall be? Would it be high enough for a mural?
No, this is only like, this is gonna be a block wall. I wanna say it's like 18 inches, 24 inches tall, pretty short. That's a good thought too, actually, that, I mean, I can send pictures as we get further along, and that might be an opportunity.
Is the new signal box big enough? Maybe. Maybe the piece of art could include signage towards like, how big is the signal box?
It's the standard size of a signal
Okay.
box, so I think they're like, I don't know, 40 inches tall and maybe 4 feet wide, but it's kind of, it's also not super visible. It's kind of it's on the opposite side of the roadway here, and it's like just inside the park, maybe another 10, 15 feet. So it's
Gotcha.
not out in the right of way on 84th, it's just inside the drive aisle on Pine.
Okay.
There's that sign there, oh, it's like, but it's not very visible, right?
Well, the old sign's been removed.
Yeah.
There was an old kind of this, because we're also replacing our park ID signs, but because of the size of the new approved design, it's, you know, like 14 feet long. There's just no right of way left out there to do that. So, it was a very difficult creative challenge to just get folks to understand that they're driving by the entrance to a really big park. So I think that's gonna just, in my mind, be a continued effort to kind of notify people that there's a park there that are driving, you know. But now they're also going to be stopped at the intersection, which I think is a renewed opportunity to notice that there's a park right there.
So just to clarify, so there's a signal box on Pine Street, that's the single one, and then one on Pine and 84th. That's the cluster. Is that right?
They're both on the same intersection. Yes, Pine and 84th. The city owned it's just the opposite side of the street.
Okay, so,
But yeah, that's the intersection of where they're both located.
okay.
Right at that, yeah, that's where the star is. Was there any other questions on Ward's Lake? American Lake Park, $4.2 million of improvements. All the retaining walls have been
Nice.
replaced with this block wall that's similar to the rockery that's included at Perry Todd. There to the left of the grand staircase is a switchback accessible route. It's not shown here because this is the gravel base, but all that gravel is now a paver plaza. So when you get down to the beach, there's a little plaza for folks that have mobility needs or just want a level ground to sit comfortably on. And there's a couple of benches. And then this is the picture of the new restroom facility on the far right. And it's identical to the restroom that was installed at Harry Todd. It's a unisex six stall restroom, and it's been moved. When you pulled in previously, the restroom was kind of like right in the middle, like blocking your view from lake. It's now kind of over to the side. So when you come in, you can see the lake actually from the parking lot. And I brought a bigger map too, because map we're looking at is so tiny on PowerPoint. So there'll now be that white box on the upper left is the new restroom, and there's a really big grand plaza entry with some improved landscape, it's a raised planter, so some seat wall opportunities in the plaza and some new picnic tables. The green circle with the other offset little circle is artificial turf with the accessible merry-go-round. So it's kind of at grade that you're in the plaza and you can just walk right over and utilize that new accessible play feature. And then the accessible route kind of goes along the edge of the park so that you walk all the way around because there's railings that are involved in meeting that code. You walk across the new block wall, the top of it, and then you can kind of access that switchback. Or there's the main park entrance with a new smaller shelter, and then that big beautiful grand staircase at the bottom.
Very cool.
And so the previous mural then has been removed, right, with the.
Unfortunately, yeah,
Yeah.
while the mountain is out was part of that old retaining wall. As we were working through design, that wall was constructed in 1964, and just the logistics of the ramp and the staircase and meeting current code requirements, unfortunately, we could not save it. So here's just really a summary of what I just spoke about. There's a new swing set going in to replace the older swing set. There was actually a bulkhead replacement on the corner nearest the swim beach. And some beach improvements, new sand. There's some safety features going in on the swim dock and some fencing so that last dock is now safely accessible for folks that are swimming. Previously it was a little bit of a conflict between the boating and the swimming, so it's kind of just a whole circulation adjustment. And then just, of course, new site furnishings around. So as you're in the corner, it's just adjacent from the new restroom is that on the right-hand side, the CMU enclosure for some dumpsters. I think that's a great mural opportunity adjacent to the restroom. I mean, even if you maybe painted the restroom, I know we just installed that, but they're right next to each other. And I think that restroom mural in Port Silicon is really fun. And then this is a terrible picture, and this is only 3-sided because it's adjacent to one of the retaining walls, but it's the only one we have installed. It's kind of showing, so there'll be a row of 5 trash cans within this metal surround. And then the rail is just to chain the can to, but those back panels, the hope is that they could be wrapped similar to a signal box with that graphic wrap.
And they're wood.
They're aluminum.
They're aluminum.
So the star on the top left is that trash enclosure adjacent from the restroom, and then the other 5 stars are just the location of each of those trash bays throughout the park. Was there any questions on anything else that's happening in the park or those? Okay, and the third project is the Nisqually Partnership Project to develop the interpretive exhibits along the Nisqually Trail. There are 7 total exhibits located in this kind of numbered configuration. There's a welcome kiosk at site number 1 and site number 4, which
Where's this at?
pardon?
Where is this at?
This is at Port Silicon Park, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
So there's the lake there, and this is kind of centered around that parking area and the new restroom, and then it's kind of south and through the prairie of that. It's really in the corner adjacent to the dog park. Yeah, it's hard to see, but the dog park is just really that whole kind of right-hand side of the trail project. Site number 2 is featuring the Coast Salish woolly dog. Site number 3 is prairies and camas. There's a patch of camas that bloom every year really beautifully in that spot. Site number 4 is really the south welcome kiosk. I don't know if you are familiar with the park, but there are some concrete, they have the park map and those concrete kiosks. I've got a picture a little later in the presentation. All along between 5 to 6, or excuse me, 4 to 6 is really the nature kind of leg of the trail. It's not paved, and there'll be 5 plants highlighted along the trail: nettles, checkered lilies, licorice fern, the Douglas fir tree kind of over towards site number 7, which is right near the log, and camas, I believe, is the 5th plant. And then site number 6, you kind of get through the prairie and you open up to a view of the lake, is Nisqually Strong. So it's featuring kind of some custom artwork from a Nisqually tribal member, as well as some additional narrative. And then site number 7, the theme is Nisqually Strong. So we're still working through, we're kind of at like 60% development of the narrative, and they've shifted a little bit, but we hope to have the project completed by the end of this year, in total. There are some metal kind of cutouts as well for associated with the woolly dog site, as well as the camas site. And then there's also some mosaic tile. So this is really just a rendering of those kiosks. The theme for it's really a 2-phase workshop at this point. There's the base of that kiosk, and then that vertical part that you can see the Nisqually fish logo is an RFQ for a Nisqually custom artwork associated with this project that'll be installed through a separate series of workshops hosted by the tribe later this summer. But this June, the 6th and 7th, it's a Friday and a Saturday. We actually also have the pavilion booked for that Sunday too. We're working with JK Mosaic. She's the title artist out of Olympia area. And she's basically described it as that she puts together kind of an underlay of what the design will be that fits on this feature. And then she's got like a mesh kind of stucco metal overlay of that, and then some folks that come assist with all the colors and the tile cutting. And then there's opportunity to just basically fill it in and participate in the construction of the tile that then she takes and kind of installs it permanently. But the thought being the bulk of the work could be supported by the community for that installation. So the concept of that was based on a series of tribal baskets, that triangular pattern. And then she's working on kind of the graphic support of that and, ordering the tile and everything. And we're working on a flyer for the times. It'll be like I think between 10 and 4 is our tentative timeline. I'm not sure if it's going to be sessions or a drop-in. She thought a drop-in would work based on typical community attendance for events like that, but I'll be sure to share with Sally that information so that you all can be aware of that workshop.
She chose it alongside tribal input as well.
Correct,
Yeah.
yes. So she has worked with other tribes in the region, and then she's supporting, the tribe is doing a really big Nisqually State Park. I'm not sure if you guys are aware, it's down south. It's a whole new state park that the tribe has been supporting some of the interpretive elements there. They have a big, I believe, mural seasonal round installation that I think is going to be mosaic tile. But that has been going on it's just such a long timeline and way larger than this project. So I'm not even sure. I think that park is open for public use, but they're still developing the interpretive and artwork elements for that. But if you all have, you're all in the network of the arts community as well. If you all had any kind of promotional ideas that we could
Well, I think, yeah,
brainstorm.
once you have the flyer, we can
Yeah.
get that out and just
Okay.
try to anticipate as many questions as you can.
Oh, for sure. I'm still
Age
looking
and-
through that
Yeah.
with the
locations.
artist. She's trying to make it open to any age, and then with the understanding if there are some younger children that maybe can't follow the very specific direction that she might have for the physical, she would have a separate workstation for them to have fun and
Oh,
participate.
she
So,
sounds amazing.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
So the timelines for each of these, currently, I mean, they change almost every day, just depending on what's happening in the world and underground and as we kind of work through each of these things. But currently, early July for American Lake Park to just complete the project and open the park. Wards Lake Park, September of this year, and then the end of the year for the Nisqually Partnership Project. Hi.
Very nice.
And then on top of that, I've anticipated some funding in our CIP budget to support some of these public art elements. American Lake Park has $25,000 allocated for the artwork, and Wards Lake Park has $15,000 allocated.
Okay, can you go back? Yeah.
This one or that one?
What do you mean by others?
It's really just that, it's supported through our funding for the project.
Oh,
We have a Department of Commerce grant supporting the trail
how much are
development.
you giving us for the work?
It's just to notify you that there's a opportunity to come participate in the community activity if you would like to come. If you,
So what are those dollar amounts for? For the commission to do the work or what?
so that would be to install a wrap as well as any kind of artist stipend that you would need to support the actual artwork development. So the thought being that for American Lake Park, I tried to send the design to Print Northwest, and they were really hesitant to give me a price for the trash bay because they like to go field measure.
Yeah.
So this is my number that I hope can accommodate.
Signal boxes are about 2,500, so, if it's bigger.
It's bigger. I think that's
Quite a bit
$5,000, but that doesn't, if it happened to be $5,000 then for each of those 5, that's not leaving anything left for an artist stipend or the mural.
It
Yeah,
looked like
this
it
is
was
really just an
3
allowance.
walls. So is it 3 walls and then 2 on each side? Is that what you're saying is 5?
No, there's 5 total bays.
There's
Oh.
5.
And they have 3
Oh.
walls, and then the trash cans sit inside of those.
Okay, I thought it was just the 3 walls. Okay, so
Yeah, so
maybe you
that,
can show me again.
That's
when
five.
we're-
Yeah.
so
And
the
Stacy,
left-hand side
Uh-huh.
is the the metal, that one only has 2 walls, so I feel like that's confusing probably for y'all. But it's a smaller short end wall basically, and so then 5 cans would be in a row in the length of that. And
Okay, wait,
These are already.
can you go
installed.
back?
it's
Stacy,
longer
please?
than 10 feet.
Longer
It's
than-
probably each of those panels maybe is 4 feet, so it's maybe 12-ish, I'm guessing, but
So
around.
there's 3 plus 1 on each end. Am I?
Five units like that.
So let
Oh,
me
there's
just stars
5
here.
of those.
Stars are where they're located. There's 5 of those total.
Oh.
And so these are all already
Oh,
installed,
I
so we can
missed
drive by and take.
No, the only one that's installed is that weird 3-sided one. They're 2-sided. But the contractor said he anticipates this week he would install the rest of them, so I could send you some other pictures that might help kind of paint a picture of how big those are. And then I could even coordinate every month or Tuesday morning. We have a weekly site meeting. If somebody wanted to come on site and measure it, or I could measure it, if there's other details that you all need to support.
We'll
the
have to
development
have
of
Print
that.
Northwest come out and measure the actual.
Well, it's an active construction site, so just have them.
Once
me
they're
know.
up and ready, you should just let us know and then they'll come out
Okay,
and measure. And then they give us an estimate.
yeah, it should be this week. Fingers crossed.
Hands are handed. Bonnie, you had a question?
I do. So Stacy, just for my confirmation, the picture that you have of the unit is the one that's down low by the water that's overlooking the boat.
That's correct, yeah. So
Launch.
those pavers are the end
Yeah.
of the beach plaza between the boat launch area
Yeah.
and the
But then the
new
bulk,
wall.
yeah, and then the bulk of them, there's a series of 4 of them that are up along the top that are lining the edge of the parking lot. The-
Correct. So yeah,
Okay.
when you pull into the parking lot, that kind of entrance area, it's really kind of, they're just evenly staggered.
Yeah.
4 more of those, correct, on that upper area.
Yeah, well, so that's just an interesting thing just to share with my commission folks, like, that there's sort of a theme, we could have a theme going along with the 4 of those, or I don't know, that's an interesting opportunity. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, and so some of those are oriented the long way, so you see really the big wide side as you pull in. The 2 in the center there in the plaza, but then the 2 on the ends are kind of oriented the opposite way, so you're really only seeing, you would see actually the long side from the boat launch entrance. Or you know what? I'm not sure which direction that far left one is facing, but we will see this
But
week.
you're
We're gonna-
okay. I mean, obviously there'll be a lag time between the time they're up and then by the time the wrap goes on and.
As far as, oh,
in term-
to
in
like
terms
develop
of
the
whether-
art and then,
yeah,
yeah,
I
get
get
the
it.
quote and yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So it's May and this, we're under active construction through at least early July and that is changed. That's like without a punch list, like that could even be the end of July. So,
Do you want them done by when the park's open?
it would be ideal that they were, if you could coordinate around park opening, just given that it's just a blank aluminum, it looks a little bit unfinished and that might be a nice first impression, but I'm not aware of the logistics of how long all that takes, with the art development and then Print Northwest schedule. So, however. that
They're
works.
fast. For us, it's if the artist already has the artwork created, then we're like, yeah, that's a go. And it's digitized. It can be really fast. If they have to develop something, that's another thing.
Okay, a small budget for that too. We may have to consider repeating artwork work. Multiple days.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thank you, Stacy. I think the configuration of what those, the way those walls are oriented, as you get closer, will help us.
Yeah, if you did.
We just have interesting
but-
opportunities depending on how things are configured.
Yeah.
We've played around a little bit with that, with the signal boxes on where things are located and which ones play off of each other. So, yeah, thank you for the update. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's something to consider too, if that does become a tight budget, if we just wrapped it in like a plain color. I don't know the cost of that, you know what I mean? As a placeholder and then fitting it into a work plan at a later date, maybe could be an alternative option to, making,
Yeah.
a work plan or a phased approach too, so.
I think it's close to being realistic.
This project has been. Challenge.
I think there could be benefits to not rushing it. Like Lonnie said, really waiting till they're constructed and going out with the artists and seeing where we want, what theme's gonna work. Yeah. So, yeah, we'll keep that in mind.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yep, I think that is, if, any of you have
I
any.
shouldn't say is that it. That's a very thorough, very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Wow.
you all have questions as you work through that, and I will be sure to communicate kind of the timelines of the Portland Loo installation. I mean, even if it's on site too, and somebody wants to take measurements to get an accurate estimate for that, the signal box is there. But yeah, I'm here to support in any way.
We have just a very quick PowerPoint of the art I put together from our signal boxes that have a nature theme. I may have forgotten some, so you guys can let me know. Just so you can say, oh, that's great. Oh, I don't like that. So you're saying we can measure the boards like ones now to get an estimate?
The signal box, yes, on 84th, the city-owned signal box you can measure.
Very pretty.
Mhm. They're all fun.
Yeah.
You wanna? That's not the first slide, is it? Maybe it is.
Yeah, that's what.
Oh, okay. So no, you can just go through. So this is Wizards Greets a Tree by Mauricio. So he's part of the Latino Artist Collective, and he's done probably 6, routes in the city. You've probably seen him there along Gravely Lake Drive, but this is a beautiful one. And I think that in a lot of cases, people who have certain commutes just don't see it. So I personally don't think duplicating is a problem. So I'm just throwing that out. This is Water Lily by Christine Westfall. And she also did the Heron. And those are on Silicon Boulevard.
We duplicate, do we pay the artist again?
I mean, I would. Yeah.
Those are beautifully placed. I really like that little.
Yeah, I think that was.
Yeah, it's so visible.
I always notice that one for some reason. Maybe it's because I go to Fort Slocum so often, but there's
Yeah.
certain ones that I
It
feel
is
like I
really
notice
visible.
because it's kind of right in an island there. It
Yes.
It pops out.
Mhm. This is Kelly Loney's, and I also wanted to say the Arts Commission, this just went up like last month. And it's just off of exit 124 on Pacific Avenue at Gravely Lake Drive.
Oh, okay.
And it looks great. It really pops and it's really visible.
just
So
noticed.
these are all native to this area, those plants.
Pacific Avenue or Pacific Highway?
Looks like a big skunk cabbage on there, so, they are,
Very pretty.
that would be, appropriate towards like.
This is Katie Dean, Leap of Faith. This is one when we saw it. Well, personally, I was like, how's that going to translate? But it looks fabulous.
Mhm. Where's this one at?
That's in the International District
Mhm.
off 84.
So,
This
No,
is
I-
kind of whimsical power line.
Industrial area.
Power line chat. So cute.
And he did an ode to pets as well. Or she.
That should
now-
be on the dog, dog park.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've already wrapped that. We already wrapped that one.
I got 100.
Mhm.
With this one?
No, it was like a. Can't think of what I not even know what it looks like, but I can't figure out how to describe it.
We've done over 30 now, so they kind of
Mhm.
But okay, this is Jose Arantes, and this is from one of his paintings, but the signal box is epic and it's very hidden. It's very hard to see, and I'd like him to have more visibility.
The texture of that is really like impressionistic. That's beautiful.
And he did a show at Lake Walled Garden, and he has a heron, and it's like a mosaic heron, and it's so gorgeous. And he just had a lot of other work I hadn't seen, and he doesn't digitize it, but we just pay Print Northwest Extra, and they go
They
photograph
digitize it.
it. and
Oh, okay.
digitize it.
By the way, Sally, I ran into that Charles guy that did that painting for us at the retreat at Lake Wald.
Oh
The
yeah,
artist, yeah, because he was doing a
Charles Burt. Yeah.
yeah, he was doing a veterans art show at by Topside, and I was
Oh.
like stuff, and I'm like, didn't you take an art class with you? We were in the elevator together.
That's cute. This is another one of his pieces. So I thought, like at American Lake Park, he would do a really good job. This is Susan Russell Hall. She's a very famous artist throughout the United States, and she has given us privy. She said any of my artwork you can use, and she's got a pretty extensive website. This is Wildflowers by Rosa Cruz. This is Biodiversity by Rosa Cruz. And that's it.
A lot of great options, honestly, like, you all do this and,
Yeah.
these folks and.
So we can talk as a commission about what artists we want, or if we want to open it up or work with some of our other artists who've been a rotating artist.
And you said at Wards, like somebody had said that there were 61 different bird species there.
I think 64, yeah, I can
Okay.
ask Mary, it was, a Tacoma, I think before they changed to Tacoma Bird Alliance, it might have been in the Audubon, but, around 2004, there was 64 species of birds just walking around the lake. I think the water is really kind of just such a nature support for that area.
Kinda, fun to have the little guys represented somehow.
I really would.
And, if, there's future bird walks for education or through the Tacoma Bird Alliance, I think that's a fun partnership as well of, I can get a hold of that list though, if we can dig that up from Mary to support, the types of birds that are on.
Yeah,
site.
that'd be interesting to see what all this is.
Okay.
I wonder if the Audubon Society works with artists. Like,
Very good point, yeah.
Yeah, that is a good one.
Thank you, Stacy. I'm super excited about these projects you're working on. And
It's hard to kind of soak in being at the sites because you can see the water and just the experience of, an urban area and then
Yeah.
being around the lake and in, an Oak Prairie and not near the water is just, I think, really special. So if anybody wants to take a site tour or have me send some more pictures to kind of really understand the context, I'm happy to do that as well.
Wards Lake is such an incredible hidden gem for anybody who's not been back in there. You just go whizzing past the entrance on 84th and there's like this whole magic kingdom going on back there. It's awesome.
I feel like it'd be wise to have a walkthrough. I feel like
Yeah.
it's like, when you buy a house and then it's like you want to get furniture, but sometimes it's just smart to live in that house for a little bit and not get everything at once. So, I don't know if this will be that way, but I think we should at least have site visits. Yeah. So maybe you can let us know, and that would be good. And I know everyone works, but maybe a few of us can come anyways. And
Yeah, the bridge is supposed to be installed middle of June, so I think that's a really exciting kind of change and connection that if we could kind of wait until that happens. Right now, it's just really kind of a bunch of dirt and the playgrounds will be in probably by then as well, so just seeing some of those features. And the Portland Loo will be on site, so, just so that you can get kind of a sense of, I agree that it's important to understand context of.
And Oh, okay. So also, what was I gonna say? The farmer's market opening day is June 3rd. That is a few days before the mosaic thing. And I don't know if they want to have something out there about the interpretive trail. And I mean, we got 5,000 people on opening day. So, if you get 2% that come, that's a good showing, So whatever, I'm not good at math, maybe 5%.
So there's gonna be a stoplight right there at Forest Lake, right?
There is now, yes, the stuff, yeah, it's been
Now, you
installed.
had said something about, like the rainbow crosswalks over Capitol Hill. I mean, so would there be an opportunity of doing signage on the crosswalk, like for Ward's Lake of some sort?
Because it's in the roadway, there are just traffic standards, a manual that they're technically supposed to follow, but I feel like obviously some of that has been interpreted in a manner that is safe in other jurisdictions. It'd really just be an ongoing conversation with our new planning and public works director. If he was open to that idea, we could talk through the logistics of that. But yeah, that was my original dream of you're driving by at 40 miles an hour. It's so, and then the brown sign, even at the signal, I feel like it's not a color. It just really kind of, everyone's so busy in life that it's something bright and colorful, I think grabs people's attention. So that I think would be wonderful. And I think I can forward the study as well, that it's, I think it's like Indiana or somewhere that they did a study that I want to say it was even outside of the crosswalks that they had public art, like in the middle of the intersection, that it had improved safety in those. And I just think it's another opportunity in the community to add public art. Who doesn't want public art?
Are there any public right-of-way areas that within like so many feet that we could do an installation like Ward's Lake?
Another wonderful opportunity will be the street ends. So my coworker is working on the pilot project, which is Westlake on Lake Steilacoom. So the development of those is really kind of passive and not, crazy developed like these two projects I just showed you, but also it's going to be really a big education opportunity that these are public access points to the water. And I think public art would be a great opportunity to do that. The concept during the schematic design of that, during the study, they had kind of a multiple ring water droplet in, the entrance to each of these. And that was just repeated throughout all the street ends. I don't think we're tied to that. It was really just how could we incorporate, new ideas that this is a public space that the public will be using and will be developing. So that's a good potential opportunity, I think.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
This was like, you just made our meeting.
Well, I'm grateful for you all's support, and I apologize if the budget doesn't go as far as we wish it would, but I'm here to support in any
Okay,
way.
we'll get
to
creative. And we have some budget too. And I kind of purposely have done less signal boxes, knowing that you've got this coming up. And this is, and to everyone, this is on our work plan to work on the capital projects.
Okay, great.
So we've got leeway. I mean, I consider this part of our project, so we'll share in that.
Okay, super. Well, thank you. It was nice to meet you and appreciate your
Thanks so much for your time.
support.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
Nicely done.
And come to the farmer's market. That'd be super cool to have.
I just want to kill myself away from work and.
But I wonder if that gal could, because it'd be really a great
a really good
chance to
idea
tell
to-
people about what's happening there.
Yeah, because
And
that's
it's important.
at the park too, so I.
Yeah.
A lot of people that are familiar with the park, right?
Mhm.
Excited about that.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank
Cool.
you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Take care.
Okay, wait, we meet till 6:15. Okay, we have 15 minutes left and we will rock and roll. Okay, guys?
All right. Recap for the Beloved Community Workshops.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so we had the MLK event. We had 3 follow-up workshops. One was for youth and 2 for adults. They were all on a Saturday. They were full, and people, you know, came and devoted a Saturday to this really deep work with Dr. John Scott on implementing Beloved Community, and it was a great success. On May 19th, he's going to speak to City Council about getting their concurrence or endorsement for next steps with Beloved Community to really make, you know, Lakewood a vanguard city of Beloved Community, really doing the work and having more workshops and just really supporting the next steps and having their backing. So it's really exciting. So if you want to come to that meeting, May 19th, John will be presenting.
At 7 p.m.
And it's really important. You know, the meeting starts at 6 and I've got to find out what time.
okay.
So I will email you the actual time.
Okay.
And then do we have an update on the mural?
Yes, sorry. Update on the mural. So Perico's probably going to start this month. And, or Perico, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong. And he believes that he would like to paint the whole front, which would cost a little bit more, but we've got some money in our budget and I think it would look really good. So he said, you know, even though like the paint's old, it really, really adds to a mural to do it on the old paint. And I just trust his judgment. He's done this, he's good. But he was saying he could paint it a color that really matches the mural and kind of makes it stick out. Instead of trying to match the old kind of reddish color. So that's his thought. He's going to get a buddy to help him, and that's the update. So he just needs, you know, a bunch of dry days. Do you have thoughts or questions or?
No, my eyes just fucking with sorry.
No.
It's the AC and it's just.
Yeah. No one likes AC. Okay. Okay. So yeah, that's super exciting. And this plan is still for him to unveil it at September 6th at the Fiesta. So that's something to put on your calendar.
Oh, okay, that'll be cool.
Yeah. And he's already worked with the Mexican consulate who comes to that event. So he's done some shows for that. All right.
Hey, and then the recap of the Watsell Student Artist Reception is beautiful.
You guys, thank you all for coming. I mean, what a great turnout to see you all there. So, you know firsthand how beautiful it was, right?
That was amazing.
It was really one of our best turnouts. So thank you for supporting the artists. And she, Callis, is the one I asked to, you know, consider being on our arts commission.
That was a really good turnout.
What?
Yeah, it's really, and that was all, well, I shouldn't say all, but she has a big following and she did the outreach. And, I think it's one of our best ones for sure. Okay.
Rotating lineup for 2026.
Okay, you guys, you already have a 2026 lineup. So first quarter, you know how we had Rodney King and that kind of covered the MLK in January. It covered Black History Month. You don't have this, I'm reading it. And it covered Black History Month. So I really like that concept of having African-American artists for that first quarter. And so, you know, Daryl was in the TCC show. It was called the Black Artist Exhibit. And I took the liberty and I reached out to all of them because he shared the email list with me. And I said, we want to do an MLK and Black History Month exhibit. First quarter, would you like to participate? So hopefully we'll just have enough of those artists. They'll come and hang. And I asked them to RSVP. So is everyone cool with that? Sorry, I kind of took the liberty to do that.
I think that's great.
Yeah, it's like they did the work for us and they vetted them all. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
and then second quarter is the Korean American Artists Association of Washington. They have 30 to 40 works between paintings, sculptures, and mixed media. Third quarter is, well, we talked about, it started with me recommending Armand for the car show. He's got all these amazing, he does all our car shows at the events. He's got amazing, amazing photographs. But then I think Sylvia had mentioned doing a Latino art show. So that would take some outreach, but maybe it could include some of the artists at the Fiesta because we're getting a bunch of new artists there. So we'll need to drill down on that a little bit more, everybody. So keep that top of mind. Fourth quarter, again, we're doing the Pierce College Student Art Show. But for the MLK event, it's January. You might want to put this on your calendar. It's January 15, 2026, and it's at Pierce College. January 15th is actually MLK's birthday, so it's a Thursday night, like 6 to 8-ish. And it's going to be a very interactive event. We did a walkthrough with Emily, and now we've got many other staff on board there that are really excited about developing different elements. Like the library's going to have a book display. We're going to have a maker space. We're going to do like dream boarding, and then we'll have a keynote speaker, but the stage will be like a lot of different performances from different clubs. And then the Lakewood Playhouse will cap it off with the show they're doing called Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide. And that will be ticketed. It'll be really cheap, but they have a ticketing system. So because they can only fit 105 people. Well, that's a lot, but anyway, so they know how many people are coming, and it's age 15 and up. So that'll start at 7:30, kind of towards the end. And then we'll have appetizers and such. So getting back to the art, I asked Dave Roholt, who runs the art program, if he'd like to do kind of an MLK theme fourth quarter. That way he'll have all the art that we can do carry over as an art display for the MLK event. So whether that's civil rights or beloved community or whatever. So I've reached out to him and he's aware of that. Kind of a twofer. Okay, so that's 2026. I think we'll just
So subcommittee reports, let's see. Well, we'll probably just skip right to the collection policy because some of the other members of those subcommittees aren't here tonight. So that's the collection policy. That's the second document that Sally very kindly printed out and Susan very kindly drafted based on a couple of different policies. We really liked the city of Issaquah's policy. That was really concise and to the point. So a lot of this draft for Lakewood is drafted off of that.
And just the framework, or just a reminder that this came from city council wanting to buy a piece of art, but we didn't know like how many, what the cost would be, where we'd store them, where we'd hang them. So thank you, Emily and Susan, our subcommittee, for doing this work. So Susan, do you want to kind of take it from here? We've got 5 minutes, but why don't you just cover the important points? Or Emily, for that matter. Sorry, Emily,
Oh,
you
yeah,
too.
no, go ahead, Susan.
There is a section on accession, since that was what stimulated us wanting to have a policy. There is criteria for de-accessioning and site selection. And I point out that we are the Public Art Committee because the other policy had a separate committee for it, but we have done that work ourselves. You will notice that there are some questions in the policy in red, or comments that at some point we should probably discuss before we ratify this. And any other comments that any committee member might have, it would be great to hear. Questions, concerns, comments would be very helpful.
So let's start with this session, because we're like, okay, so what art are we going to consider? So it sounds like we'll do a vote as a committee.
Yes, that's how
Yeah. Okay, so we'll have some kind of rubric, and then we'll make a recommendation to city council. Perfect.
Yeah,
And so then you're saying, so we'll look at people who've done commissions, so people who've done signal box route, and then work purchased for City Hall. And what do you mean by that? Isn't that what we're doing is purchasing?
well, this covers both purchasing artwork, and also the commission work, because we had to deal with both in the policy.
So for this purpose, it's just about purchasing public art, the city council purchasing public art.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So
I think I would recommend that people actually take some time and read it.
Okay.
And then we discuss it at the next meeting.
Agreed.
Okay,
And
it's-
in
okay.
the interim, you send me
Thank
and
you.
Emily any questions and concerns so that we can
Yeah.
come prepared to address those. I think that would be the best way to deal with this because it's fairly complicated.
Yeah, and I think you know, we do have a public art policy in our public art program. So just remember we want to focus on what pieces we're buying. So and I think we started because of the rotating artists and we were thinking, oh, we for like 2025, we'd pick at the end of the year, you know, from that selection, we'd pick one artist, one piece from one of the artists. But that would, yeah. So we'll talk about it, but that would be tricky because once they take it down, unless we take a picture of every piece of art, I guess we might want to start doing that.
I
Like
think
there's a,
yeah, carry on.
oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I just reiterating, I think we should read it and then
Yes.
think about it and then send
Thank
it
you.
next month, send me the comments. Because again, I base this on the city of Issaquah's and you know, some of the things might be relevant and some of them may not. And I also have questions in there for you guys.
Yeah. It's such a great start, Susan. Thank you. It's exactly what we need. And Emily, thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
All Susan.
Well, you guys met. I know that.
But yeah,
Yes.
thank you, Susan. So I think our next meeting is June 9th.
And I'll do a
So,
number 5.
okay, perfect.
So number 5 is the rotating art update. So just a reminder that third quarter, we have Diana Aoki showing. And actually, I meant to put some of her work on the PowerPoint for Stacy. She has the amazing koi and sea life. So let's keep her in mind for the boxes. But her reception September 15th. And then, of course, last quarter is the student art show. October 20th is the reception. Oh, Nikki. So also, and I know this seems like it's far away, but for the MLK event, we had the art reception close to it, but we thought of moving the art reception to February. Do you remember the date we moved it to? February. To having it in February during Black History Month, because January people are just coming off the holidays and there's no reason for it to be right together. And so it was on our, it was the first Monday. So it would have been, it would be the night we would normally meet, would be in February, first Monday of February would be the MLK art reception. Okay, that's so cool. It's a wrap. It's really, I wanted to do a check-in and just like for fun and hear from everyone, but it's 6:15, so I love this group. Hope you're all doing great now that the sun's out.
Yeah.
Buddy, do you have another question or?
Yeah, quick question, Sally. Did you say the Pierce College is the 13th? Because I have it on my calendar for the 20th.
20th. It's the 20th.
Thank you. Okay. I misheard. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, everyone, have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
Awesome
Bye.
meeting, everyone. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Always 2 minutes. Oh, I don't know. You're pushing.